So secure communications between journalists and their fixers, their stringers, all that sort of thing. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Well, actually, so the tail end of this presentation, we'll talk about digital security. You know, and maybe hopefully we can be of some use. Certainly, we can get some ideas amongst each other. And that's actually how I like to run these workshops. It's a team effort, it's teamwork always, not just me going blah, 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 because you'd all die of boredom. And in fact, actually, I got a short little assignment for you to do too. It's good fun. Get you guys working together, get you thinking.
My name is Nelson Banya. I'm from Zimbabwe, where I edit independent online financial news service.
Okay.
My expectations from this session basically center around the issues of surveillance,
Yeah.
digital security,
Okay.
just all around security awareness.
Yeah.
That you probably know Zimbabwe does qualify to be a hostile environment.
Yeah.
More so now as we head towards an election.
Okay.
When abuses against journalists tend to peak.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, so I did have some hostile environment training about 11 years ago.
Okay.
When I was with Reuters in Nairobi, Kenya. So I do suppose it's time for a refresher of sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get so much in an hour.
Yeah, hopefully.
But you know what? It's such a small audience. You should be able to sort of really hone in on what you want to know, which is worth a week, really. So certainly, as I mentioned, we'll be talking towards the end about digital surveillance.
Yeah.
Means to mitigate that threat. Yeah, it's huge, isn't it? Absolutely huge, of course it is. Okay, sure. Thanks very much.
Right.
My name is Josh Laporte. I'm from the European Journalism Center.
Okay.
I used to work at Reuters Foundation, so I heard a lot about INCI training in Britain.
Yeah.
And so I've always wanted to be observe and see how they go.
Yeah.
I'm not living in hostile environments. I live in Belgium, but I work on a lot of media development projects in very tough media landscapes.
Yeah.
And we're starting a new 5-year, I'm in the middle of a 5-year project, and we're embedding safety and security elements in it. So I'm mostly observing to get more ideas.
Right.
But I know cyber and digital security is a big problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's happening in all the countries I'm working in. So
Yeah.
I want to learn more about that as well.
Yeah, great. Okay.
Great. Yeah,
Fantastic.
thanks.
I'm Michael Kudlak. I work with IPI, one of the organizers of this conference.
Right.
And I'm just here to observe, actually.
Yeah.
And I'm here with my fellow colleagues from IPI.
Excellent.
So we're here to observe and
Yep, I would like just to weigh in also in the sense of the digital security and so on. One of the things that IPI we're working on, it's basically on digital security, but basically it's on how to counter online harassment against journalists and the things that pop out eventually in the last session. And so, basically that's one of the things that I would like also to tackle, which is the psychosocial aspect of it and the psychological impact that it has, and how important it is not only for yourself but also for the colleagues and people surrounding you to know how important and the impact that these sort of attacks might have on the person.
Yeah.
You know?
Actually, I mean, that's not something that I'm going to bring up today, but it's super important. And listening to the chap who talked about it earlier on, I mean, obviously, you know, that it needs to be addressed. It needs to be looked at severely. It sounds like now it's one of those threats that's up there with the bombs and the bullets and being detained. You know, it's well up there. So it absolutely needs to be addressed. And I'll certainly be talking to INSI next week about it too. So yeah, that's super important. But that's not part of the presentation, unfortunately.
Yeah, but it's okay.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks very much. Guys, just a quick introduction, if you don't mind. Just say hello. And any thoughts you've got, or any sort of fears you've got, anything particularly? I mean, you've obviously got an idea of what this presentation's about, but anything you'd like to talk about and see if I can help.
Well, actually, I'm very interested to know a little bit more about INSI and what you do. I'm fairly new.
Okay, right.
I've been talking to Anna and Hannah, also organizing,
excellent.
so I was very, very interested to see your work. So that's basically why I'm here. I wanted to take a look and see and how to develop also synergies with also INSI. I'm afraid I'm in the marketing and relationship management part.
Okay,
so
fantastic.
that's why my point of view is a little bit different.
Yeah, I think from listening to me and talking to me, what we'll get is a strategic view of how we potentially look at the safety of journalists in the field. And in the field now, as we mentioned on the panel earlier on, is downtown. Here, isn't it? It is, unfortunately. So, you know, it's broad. But when it comes to actually specific INSI information, speak to Hannah.
Yes, I will. I just wanted also to broaden a little bit my knowledge, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, great.
Thank you.
As Michael said, I'm also part of IPI. I'm interesting because, as Javier said, we have this program on how to counter digital harassment against journalists.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to learn more from the session, your work on that, and also overall work on safety, that lessons learned that we can also implement in our programs, because that's the part I work in on IPI. So I'm just a sponge. Let's go like that.
Good.
Today. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. Actually, I take a lot from you guys as well. But as I mentioned, no, we won't be talking specifically about sort of trolling with social media. It's something that we could perhaps discuss amongst ourselves to bring to the attention and look at ways to mitigate that. But that's not something that's part of this discussion. But we will be talking about social media generally with regards to security. Cool, thank you.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm also from IPI, but I wanted to bring in also a little bit of the perspective of that back in 2002 at our Congress in Ljubljana, the idea for INSI was born.
Yeah.
It was a time when people were journalists were embedded in Afghanistan, and a lot of freelancers were being killed there, and there was this need for an organization that talked about safety. So we had a panel about this, and Rodney Pinder, who was the first director of INSI, took part in this whole idea with IFJ and IPI to bring this organization. And for me, it's interesting to see now how this organization, how the safety training has changed since then.
Yeah.
At that time, it was Afghanistan, then the war in Iraq, being embedded, freelancers, all these issues. And IPI has now also been at the forefront of bringing out this declaration on the safety of journalists, which we're pushing through different organizations like the UN, etc. We also got the UN together with INSI and other organizations to support this need for implementation of the safety of journalists on a broader governmental level.
Yeah, which it needs. But if I've read that right, I don't think it's changed that much. I think it's expanded upon now, training. I think training for journalists has been expanded upon because the threats, we discussed them in the panel earlier on, reference being targeted now because you're the media, digital threats, trawling online, those sort of things weren't necessarily there. They were in some degrees, being targeted and things like that 10, 15 years ago, but now they're absolutely, they're so much more. But the old threats are still there. I've just got back from Mosul with a TV organisation, and it's the same embed with troops who, the quality of their training and their reaction to when it goes wrong is what you would expect from that level of troop. And so that sort of training is invaluable and has not changed since 2002, 2001. But so that's still there. The original belts and braces, bombs and bullets is still there. What's changed now is bang bang, the station, just down the street. So, someone's stabbing people, someone's shooting people. Okay, who's available? Let's go. That's the difference now. Whereas it used to be sort of hardcore journalists, didn't it? Correspondents, camera people who went out into war zones. There was the threat. Now we're back. We can relax. Back in Hamburg, it's beautiful. We can just take our time. It's changed now, hasn't it? It seems to be a lot more prevalent, the threats. But I don't want to sound too negative, guys, because I'm security. It's my business to sell security. Of course it is. Quite aware of that. So I don't want to sound too negative. I think there are a lot of positives now. And actually, just to go back to your point about why INSI was brought in, I'm on the edges of INSI. I work for actually as a partnership in a security firm, but I work for INSI as a trainer, and I can see the value with journalists. I see the value because I see empowerment. I see journalists being empowered. I'm married to a journalist. I see the safety taken seriously by journalists because not only for your own well-being and the well-being of your team, but it's the stories. You get the story. If you can look after yourself and look after your team, you know, your editor's going to be more keen to say, okay, well, you know what, that she's not a lunatic. Yeah, she can go for 2 weeks in, you know, Syria, whatever it is. So there's a certain value there in a firm or organisation like INSI, providing training to empower journalists. You know, it's not. Yeah. Cool. So just a brief introduction. Sorry.
Yeah, just announce myself. Is that correct? I will come in late here. Okay. My name is Christian Zaum. I work. I'm the president of the German Press Federation, and another federation for journalists. We also put both organizations members of INSI, and we cooperate, especially for Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, with some other training organizations, but also internationally, and advise INSI and other organizations too about this subject. And yeah, that's it for the first.
Excellent, thank you.
Oh, this way, okay.
Barbara?
Hi, my name is Barbara Triumfi. I am Executive Director of the International Press Institute. And yes, also together with INSI, we do a lot of work on safety and try to promote the culture of safety among our members.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
My name is Martin Leonhardsberger. I'm also working for IPI.
Yeah.
I'm an alien in a way because I'm head of finance and administration, but I'm really interested in the topics and the issues of your work and the trainings you offer because of my function, I'm totally not involved in these things.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. I've heard a lot about your institute, and as I'm not working that long for IPI as my colleagues, so for me it's just interesting in general what is going on there and what can be done.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think the way I'll hit this presentation now, because of who I've got in this audience, is I'll try my best to keep it as strategic as possible. So we're going to hit key points along the way, and that will involve key safety points globally, but I'll try and keep it as strategic as possible rather than get you guys dragged into tactically looking at things, which is what we do with safety training actually. We look at things tactically for people on the ground, the threats that they face. That is quite a dark. Shall I dim some lights? So, evolving threats, we've briefly touched upon this, and the threat is anywhere now. And not to create sort of, too much panic and too much fear, I don't want to do that. But it is everywhere, isn't it? We're all quite cautious. We're cautious about events like this. Now, the likelihood of you guys being caught up in a terrorist event is so small. Like, it's so small. But the likelihood of you guys getting called out to go and deal with or to report on a terrorist event it's obviously on the increase. And you need to understand the method of operation, how terrorists work typically on the ground, and it's not new. It's been going on for 40 plus years. And they will do a random attack, one attack where they will drive a car into a crowd of people, or they let off one bomb, or one guy goes crazy with a knife. They will do that. But also with terrorism, to be effective, to get their maximum number of kills, to get the maximum media coverage, which is what they want, they will secondary blasts. They'll have another explosion go off somewhere where they know people will congregate, so the press, safety, ambulances, police, security services, they will have a secondary device there ready to go off, sort of create that extra bit of pandemonium around an event. So that's where it could affect you guys on the ground. We'll go into that more, I think, as we progress through. This is just touching on a few key points. Tell me about that. I don't want to talk all the way through this presentation. I'll bore myself. Tell me about it. Barbara, what are we looking at? Drugs. Okay, yeah. What sort of drugs? It's too dark, you can't see. It's medication. I'm coming across these more and more. Not in my bag, I must I'm coming across these things more and more. Drugs, absolutely. Where did I see these drugs? Got no idea. Actually, I saw these on the front line in Mosul with fighting troops. Different kinds of drugs. And I checked, actually I found some on the floor, a wrapper on the floor, and I checked out the name of the drug. And it was it's a drug to get people high, to get them away from normality. Because their normal situation is pretty crappy. So drugs are a big issue. They're a big issue on the front lines. They're a big issue with us. They're a big issue with security. They're a big issue with the media, with camera people, correspondence, certainly. It's a threat. It's something that we need to look at. Okay, I might go into more detail as we go through this, guys. What am I looking at here? Yeah, okay. Give me more, guys. Come on, you're journalists. What else are we looking at? Look at this. I know it's a small... Tell me about the screen. What can you see? Yeah. Yeah, okay, technical guy. Yeah, what about the tools?
Well, I'm a journalist.
Okay. Journalist with technical mind.
Yeah. Well, no, it's basically you're exposing, if you activate it and so on, you're exposing your personal devices and personal information data and your sources data and contents to anyone, any hacker or any digital interference, technically.
Yeah, perfect, absolutely. So digital threats. We'll go into more depth and detail sort of later on in the presentation. But digital threats, distraction. Kurdistan, I thought it'd be a good distraction. Actually, I thought you can't see it, unfortunately. It's not very good quality here, but it's a VPN. So I've got a VPN on my laptop. Of course, I have. It's got a kill switch on it. It doesn't kill people. It kills the internet. It doesn't allow me to use the internet unless I'm using a VPN. I'm sure you all know what a VPN, a virtual private network, is. Super important. Absolutely super important. It really is. And we'll certainly go more into depth and detail of that. Interesting point that you said about actually the information you have online, giving away people you interact with. If you think about Turkey right now, I've missed your other presentations. I just arrived in Hamburg a few hours ago, but I was in Turkey quite recently, and of course there is a lot of surveillance. Of course there is a lot of people looking at who you are interacting with, and the danger isn't just to you or to your organisation, although there is a danger there certainly, but it's to the people who you interact with. Now, and this is quite important, and why INSI and ACOS and other people who are taking the lead should look at this in more depth, I feel, is because although you're going through hostile environment training, you've been through hostile environment training, you're quite clued in, the people you talk to, the people you bring in, the people on the ground, your contacts, your sources, what level are they at? One, are they putting themselves in danger without realising it? But also, are they putting you in danger without realising it? And you're on a VPN. Everything you look at is super secure. The way you communicate, particularly after our presentation today, is super secure. What are they using? What's their security at? And there's another issue. Unfortunately, it never ends. If you give them the tools to encrypt, to keep your communications secret, how do you trust them? How do you trust that the information you've given them then isn't compromised at their end? There's a lot around digital security that we can talk about, it certainly is. And common threats as well. I think we'll skip over this. Typically with a bit more time and a bigger audience, we would talk about it. What is that? So it's... Something to absolutely, yeah, it came from something to... It came from sushi. It came from sushi. I was mortified recently, chowing down, nice bit of sushi, and then in the news, it's worms now are just there on the increase hugely. They always have been in Japan, and now across the globe, because everybody's big into sushi, worms are a big issue. Now, worms are not a problem for journalists, I get that. What I'm getting at is common threats are not just terrorism, it's not just cyber. You've got to look after the wellness of your team as well, and the people who work for you, absolutely. And that's one of the major things I do, actually, when I'm working on the ground with media, is I'm looking after your health. I've got pills for diarrhea, pills for this, pills for that. I'm checking your blood pressure, all that sort of stuff. You guys should be doing that. Maybe not blood pressure, but certainly looking after yourself.
Well, no, trust me. Also the blood pressure.
Also the blood pressure.
Trust me.
And so we covered some pretty uncommon and common threats. And also the belts and braces. I don't think we're going to spend too long talking about bombs and bullets and bang bang. We all know it, pretty much. What I will talk about is resilience in the organisations and extraction. Are people being looked after? No, they're not still. I spoke to here's a freelancer friend of mine, on the way back from a bill recently. He'd been blown up, and he wasn't particularly looked after by the organisation who sent him out there. Let's put it that way, that's what I'm going to say. But the organisation who sent him out there, you know, they're not a small organisation. They're really not. They should have had in place, certainly, medical care on the ground, and a means to get him out, put him somewhere safe so he can get proper medical care as well. That is still not going on, unbelievably. So that's where I'd like to talk about with common threats. We'll look at it from a strategic level. And a basic risk assessment, we keep it short and simple. Honestly, I did a course for 3 weeks. I think it might have been longer. I did a course about risk assessments. I just want to go throw myself in the canal after it. It was awful. It's got to be short. If it's not short and to the point, people won't do it. You know, if you've got reams and reams of paper, lots and lots of text. Oh, really? So we keep it short. This is a real one, actually. I've changed a couple of bits and I've made it a little bit shorter in areas. But it's a real one, and we don't call it a risk assessment, of course. For journalists, we've got a safety sheet. What is it? We describe what it is. I'll happily give you guys this if you'd like it. The organisations. Why are we doing it? What's the reason for us doing it? That helps us understand our objective. Who's going on it? The correspondent, producer, the shooter. Of course, it's not just shooter. It's the name of the camerawoman, telephone number, and any other sort of details, contact details, really, we'll put on there. How we're going to achieve our objective. Points of contact, and some other safety bits towards the bottom, a couple of which I definitely want to talk to you about. One is tracking, and certainly medical, but again on a strategic level with medical. You guys use trackers? Have you worked with use trackers? Okay, well tracking is really taking off. I've been using trackers now for about 5 years. There are different types of trackers. You can use sort of really military grade ones, or you can use these sort of commercially available ones. And that is it's a tracker that uses the GSM network. It will use your telephone, your mobile phone network, or else there's a device in there too that picks up a satellite. They're invaluable. They certainly are. When we talk about empowering journalists, yeah, it's pretty small, isn't it? When you talk about empowering journalists and not having, you know, most people can't afford security anyway to be with them on the ground. That is almost security, because with that tracker or with any tracker, and also they're on your phone. I have a couple of trackers on my phone, commercially available apps, maybe, that track my movements. They're super handy, because then I know I can track where all the correspondents are. I can even put sort of a matrix or a fence, a geofence, in the platform, in the system. So that if they're straying into bad lands, if they're going into ISIS territory, and they don't know it because they're being driven by an Iraqi guy who doesn't know where he's going, let's say, which is unusual, the tracker's going to alert me. It's going to let me know. I can give them a call and say, look, stop, guys. You're heading off into Iraq. We're not going to see you for 2 years. So trackers are really coming to the fore, guys. They're really quite useful. Again, I'm not going to get bogged down with tactics. I'm going to talk about key elements like that. And medical too. I'll talk to you more about that in a moment. So risk assessment, really, it's the threat. What is the threat to you? What is the threat to your organisation? That can be digital. It can be online. It doesn't have to be somebody stabbing you. Something like that. How do we mitigate the threat? And then below any good risk assessment is preparation and response. Preparation and response. Preparation is everything. I don't think I'm going to give you guys a planning exercise to do. I was going to with a different audience. I think I'm too strategic for that. But planning is everything, you know. It really is. And I've been sort of in the army for a long, long time. I left the army a long, long time ago. And now I've worked in the commercial industry for about 2004. So quite a while. And out of all that, I would say everything is in the planning. Now, you can't always stick to the plan. I get that. In fact, most plans will go to pot. But if we plan, we've at least got some things in place, like telephone numbers of people we can reach out to. Colonel Stagg is fantastic. If we get into trouble, this guy's going to get us out. If I'm locked up, looking at doing 2 years in Iraq or something like that, this guy's fantastic. He's going to pull me out. He's not joking. That's not his real number. But you get what I'm saying. If we've got plans in place, the plan might not go to exactly to plan, but at least we've got some mitigation around the sides. Informed planning, how we do it? Well, do you know what actually? Resources. You guys are one of my #1 resources. If you've been in the field, if you've been in the area before, I'm going to plug you for information, absolutely. And you're all going to get my card after this, and I want you to keep in touch. And I want you to know that's vice versa. I'm not selling you security, it's information exchange. It doesn't go to governments and things like that. I work with the media all the time, it sounds a bit dodgy. So, industry, it's our peer group, isn't it? I'll speak to any number of people to try and get information I think is relevant to where I'm going to. Your industry is going to be media. Government as well. I guess we can get advice from the government, certainly at certain levels within the organisation. You've probably got good contacts into governments and people who work in governments and different services that can assist you, I'm sure. Non-government organisations, certainly. I drove into western Mosul quite recently, and on the side of the road were MAG. Who are MAG? Who are MAG? It's definitely there. Mine Action Group. Mine Action Group, right? It's just like the Halo Trust. They do a really good job of they do a fantastic job at demining mined areas. And what's important to me is because I can maybe meet the guy in the bar, meet the girl in the bar, and we can have a chat about the threats in the area, and they're going to have a different take on it to me. I'm not going to talk about landmines, maybe. More importantly, terrorist links there. What's the situation on the ground? That sort of information is diamond. So NGOs useful that way, of course, in many ways. And humanitarian, much the same. And security too. Security industry it's got a bad reputation. In some ways that's well deserved, in other ways not quite so. I think that if you can find a decent security contact, keep it, use it for where you can. I'm sure they'll do vice versa. So resources, guys, what have we got on the ground? For me, #1 is communication, absolutely. We can look at the devices, there are any number of devices, but I want to keep this strategic. I have satellites and things like that there. We don't need to do that now. We'll talk strategy. Communications. I need to know, at any one time, I can talk to people on the ground through a number of different means. That can be their iPhone. It can be their Inmarsat, their satellite phone. It can be their local phone, the local cell we gave them before they arrived in the country. I've got numbers that work. Along with that, so a means to communicate. Also, I need to know it's secure. WhatsApp, is it secure? You reckon? It has?
It had before, yeah. I mean, they tried to implement the same encrypted system that Signal.
Okay,
had, but then since Facebook took over.
Don't trust it? Since Facebook took over?
Well, just yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put that before.
Okay, yeah. I mean, Signal, we use Signal as well. I quite like Signal. Yeah, I don't trust any of them. I really don't. And I mean, I think Signal has maybe got a better rap than WhatsApp. We use WhatsApp. Actually, I use WhatsApp. We'll send pictures on WhatsApp to each other, digital. We will message each other on WhatsApp. But we can be quite cautious about what we talk about. If we don't have to give all the details away, names, locations, dates, keep it simple. And something you'll hear in the security industry quite a lot is they say, oh, let's meet at the obvious. And everyone, what do you mean the obvious? Where do you mean? Well, we've discussed it already. The obvious is the cafe, around the corner sort of thing. It's a word we use rather than, give the game away. So be careful, keep it simple is what I should say, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, absolutely, yeah.
Quite recently, because of our work in Salama, we had to work with journalists who were working from Turkey.
Yeah.
And when the violence, all the developments were actually increasing and escalating. But and one of the things that we used is to try to communicate, with each other was an encrypted email service. It's called Proton Mail from Switzerland.
It's called what? I haven't heard of that.
It's called Proton Mail. Proton Mail.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so make it
yeah, it's from Switzerland.
Yeah.
And well, it's based there, whatever. But the thing is that the interesting part about the encryption and so on is like even the subject lines, we never put like the subject, like that specific topic that we're talking about.
Yeah, great.
And most of the times we're talking about a case that the journalist would only use the initials of the journalist, like case E
Excellent.
or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's all these minor things.
Yeah. You don't put super secret email, you don't put that in your header.
Exactly.
No, that's great. That's great. You know, and it's in a way it's common sense. But I said to a lady earlier on, unfortunately she's not here, who mentioned common sense in the panel earlier on. Common sense, unfortunately, is not that common. You know, but that's really good. Yeah, nice low profile. And in fact, you know, all the years in security, you know, been through different ranges of security, big armoured vehicles, guns and things like that, working with people in that respect, to working in a very low profile mode where it's local taxis, where it's just, you will never fit in as a local if you're not a local, don't think you will, but you can sort of maybe just blend in quite quickly when you're driving through, when you're walking through, without creating too much of a fuss. And that's a low profile approach, and that is the best way for security. I think low profile is so much better. You know, I'm about to go to Sicily, where we're going to see, you know, Trump's entourage of high profile. My God, I guess Sicily will be locked down. You know, well, there's probably actually one area where actually high profile might work. Certainly for his protection. I don't know about, you know, what the locals will think of that security. Shutting down the Sicily for the week. Communications, really good point about Turkey. Really good point about Turkey, and not just Turkey, it could be any us. But so we were in Hatay recently, filming down in Hatay, and one of the news organisations who was with us was stopped by the Turkish police, and their phones were taken from them. They've heard about this, and I think, as I understand, some of the data they've taken the phones, they started to download some of the data off the phones. I think the correspondent managed to get the phone back. I think they sort of knocked on the head, but. It's just a thought, isn't it? What information are we carrying? And I think we'll go into more into this towards the end of the presentation. But you know, it's not just communications talking; it's what information you've got on there. You know, if you're caught, is it going to compromise you? Is it going to compromise your organisation? I think we'll pretty much just skip over these a little bit, guys. But just through thought, certainly with medical, it's a big one. You know, ambulance in the background. This is in Libya a few years ago, and we made a point of. As we went forward, knowing where medical stations were. Now, unfortunately for the people in war zones, the medical facilities are often really quite good, actually. They're not great, they're nothing like sort of you get here, but you can have some really good surgeons who are on it day after day after day with traumatic surgery, that sort of thing. So there's real skill in areas where you might not expect it. So what I will do, it's my job to do it anyway, and what you guys can certainly do, empower your people, is to check it out. As you're going forward into hostile environments, into remote regions, you go into Papua New Guinea, let's say, to do a remote task rather than a war task, you can check out the medical facilities. You can do that remotely before you go. Nothing really beats eyes on the ground, taking a good look around. You've got to know what you're looking for, but it's not that difficult. A bit of advice just to ask people who know it. So medical, super important. And actually, first line medical, you know, who's done medical training here? I don't mean like a doctor. But sort of first response. So I mean, if you can, just with your gun, and think about the threats. Think about going bang bang errands in the station, right? And somebody getting shot. Okay, put bags out because I'd imagine you have an ambulance here in about 10 minutes. Oh, nice, probably. But maybe it's not here. Maybe it's somewhere a bit more remote. You know, can your people at least do first response, first responder, right? So I'm going to need you to lie down on the floor. Let's not get too tactical today, you don't need to. But first response, can your people at least do a task, a medical action that will keep you alive for 1 hour? That's all we need, right? So we're looking at things like, when I give these out to my journalists, and they keep it on them, this looks a little bit military, so you could put it in a camera bag, no problem, DSLR bag, if you wanted to. But in there, it's just a basic, really basic. I don't sell this, you can get these online, guys, it's not a sales pitch. One bandage, called a pressure bandage, really good bit of kit. Tourniquet, these are now back in vogue for good reason. They saved a lot of lives in Afghanistan and Iraq. Good set of scissors, tip the end of the cigar, an airway, and that's basically for your chest. We'll talk about that. And a chest seal. So basic kit, easy, isn't it? That could go in the camera bag, no problem. You've empowered people. They can look after themselves. And it shows that you care about your people too. You're taking them a basic bit of training. It doesn't take a lot of time. I will take my teams through training just as soon as we turn up in country. If we have time, we'll go through some really basic stuff. 10 minutes, how long have we got? 5 minutes, is that it? 5 minutes? Boom, no problem. We'll go through 5 minutes of safety training. That's what you guys should be. So medical. Vehicles, yeah, I think if I can help it low profile, that's not always the case. I am not afraid to pay out, and neither should you be, for armoured vehicles when it's needed. And PPA, we spoke about earlier on, so protection, personal protective armour, body armour, helmet, that sort of thing. What sort of kit am I taking with me to Sicily? And actually to Rome as well. What a fantastic stuff. I say that now. It's my first good, yeah, quite. Bottle of wine, hat, a hat. Yeah, well, quite. Well, yeah, it's a threat, isn't it? Yeah. But, okay, think ahead. What am I thinking of? Rome. Why am I going to Rome? Why am I going to Sicily?
Well, we're going to Sicily for the G7.
Yeah, but I'm not a journalist. I don't care what it says. Maybe we should actually. Maybe we should. And the other countries too. But why am I going? Why do you think?
To report on the summer season.
Okay, in case it kicks off. In case it kicks off. In case people aren't happy with G7 summits have been shown before, right? So missiles getting thrown, all that sort of stuff. So I would take an equipment with me to give out to the teams. The teams will know what the equipment is. They've used it before. They've gone through Cairo, all those sorts of riots. London too. So they know what sort of equipment's needed.
There will be definitely the anti-globalization protesters.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they'll be in Rome because that's the main city.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Rome. That's what sort of we're thinking. I think Sicily would be quite a nice. That'd be a nice one, bit of vino.
It'll be cordoned down.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah,
it's a
absolutely.
place where they can just close it off and it doesn't.
Yeah.
But if they would close off Rome.
Yeah, and actually an effect of that I read in the Times, the London Times last week, was migrants aren't getting the help they need because they've closed off Sicily. Literally, the ports are getting closed there. So there you go. There's another effect of high-profile security that's not great. But back to protection. I'm trying to get you to think about that. It's just outside the box a little bit. It's not a helmet we're talking about. It's not body armour. It is. It's personal protective equipment that can help you out without even being noticed. So in a demonstration, like a cycle helmet, like a set of goggles, because even in London they have water cannon. Those things will take your eyes out. There's a decent set of impact water goggles, that sort of thing. So equipment like that outside the box, guys. Tracking we spoke about, insurance. I'm not going to bore you with, though it's super, super important to have it. Leave it at that. And orientation to the ground. Nearly at the end of this part of the presentation, guys. It's quite long, and then we'll talk about digital. Orientation. I find this so important. If I can, whenever I go anywhere, I will go for a walk, right? I will orientate myself around the hotel. Because actually, the threats that I've noticed over the last 20 years aren't really getting kidnapped. Not really. It's such a small percentage. It's not really getting shot at. Happens, but the likelihood of me getting killed aren't that high. It's actually, probably I'll die in a car crash or I'll die in a hotel fire in some crappy hotel in Misrata in Libya. That's how I'll get whacked. Be a car crash or be a hotel fire. They're really, really common threats. And of course, if you look at the threat matrix, it's increased. The likelihood's increased because of my exposure, the amount of driving that I do. So, and the amount of time I spend in hotels too. Not always crappy happening. So I like to know my orientation around. My orientation can be this place here. We're in a hostile environment. I hear shooting outside. Where do we go? And actually, brings a really good point. From a media point of view, you just heard it in the lobby of your media organisation. Bang, bang, bang. Some guy screaming his head off downstairs, running around crazy. What's going on? Terrorists. Someone shouted terrorists downstairs. Shit. That's happening now, guys. I just heard it outside. What do we do? Where do we go? 5. He's going to come through the door in 5 seconds. 4, 3. Where we go? 3, 1, 2. So this is the thing. Orientation. Throw down a few mattresses, a few chairs. But orientation starts with you. It starts with, obviously the threat that you're likely to encounter. Fine, but where am I? How can I get out? How do I get out safely? If it is someone firing a gun, well, obviously I don't want to run blindly that way. Take my time, make an assessment, find a different way out. I can make that so much quicker. I can make that process so much quicker. When it comes to sort of people being injured medically and dying, often the difference in between somebody being injured and surviving and being injured and dying is time. It's how long it took to get a tourniquet on. It's how long it took to remember to call the ambulance. It's how long it took to get them to an extraction point, a helicopter, whatever. it's time. And it's the same situation when you've got the secret police knocking on the door, when you've got some lunatic who thinks he's a terrorist shooting up the corridor. Same thing, it's time. If you stand there like a rabbit in the headlights, bang, you're dead. If you're like, oh shit, I don't know where I'm going to go, 50-50. If you've just taken like 2 seconds just to take a look around, wow, get out of there sort of thing, have a look around. It's obviously threat related. If you did it all the time, you'd go mad, you'd go crazy. But if you're in an area where the threat is elevated, like say certainly as media personnel, working in a city, the threat is elevated, think through how you can get out. And with any sort of incident, where guns are fired, that sort of thing, fire's an issue. So even though your health and safety in the downstairs kitchen is fantastic, they've never had a fire in sort of 15 years, they don't have any smoke down there anymore. You know, terrorist incidents, that sort of thing, they cause fires, absolutely. They cause fires on purpose to create confusion. Fire's a big issue, guys. So, orientation. Residence where you're at, as well, who you're located next to. I don't want to get too tactical here, guys, but you know, is our bureau in Afghanistan located next to Israeli embassy, something like that, a likely target, let's say. Mappage, absolutely. I love maps, maps are fantastic. I use a compass still in the field. I use a really basic compass still in the field. But the best tool I was using for the last couple of weeks was LiveView Map. LiveView Map is an online digital map, and that shows me the shrinkage at the moment of ISIS in in Syria and in northern Iraq too. I can see where they move, and it's accurate. I know that because I work with teams on the ground. Very quite accurate actually, so it's a great map. It's a really good bit of kit and a good tool. As is this one, I think this one is Wikimaps. And on there I can put in key locations. So for me, of course, safely, I look at hospitals. Bang, bang, bang. All the hospitals come up in that region. Fantastic. Obviously, as good journalists, you're going to research that hospital a little bit more. It says it's the greatest hospital in the world. Well, let's talk to somebody who knows and let's research it a bit more. But there's a great bit of kit. So obviously digital we're going into now. I use on my phone when I'm travelling around. I will use maps.me. Maps.me will download the maps for me, so I've got really good detail of map, but also it will track me. And the tracking will work even when, well, I don't even have a signal. How am I being tracked? That should worry you. Shouldn't really. But you know, it's really good. There's many applications like that. So maps are super useful, guys. Safe areas, of course, knowing where to go. So you know, that could be something as simple as Cairo would be classic. Actually, Cairo would be classic, where we know Tahrir Square is going to go crazy after 7 o'clock. Back in, a few years ago now, of course. Where's a good place to go when it goes crazy? So we can obviously, we don't want to go in the middle of the crowd, stay to the peripheries and all that good stuff. But also, where can I go when I'm starting to get pulled into this crowd and they're going CIA or whatever it is? Where's friendly? Where's friendly with the crowd? Well, there's a whole group of women up there who are talking about women's rights. Is that somewhere I can go where it's going to be friendly? Maybe, maybe not. You know, that sort of thing. Know your area really, really well. Safe areas. I'm not talking about military installations. Right. Guys, I'm not going to give you a plan task, happily, but we are going to talk about digital threats shortly. But have you got any questions so far? I feel like I've waffled on quite a bit. Yeah.
I do actually. How do you train this instinct that
Yeah.
your explanation into that emergency situation? How can you overcome an instinctive reaction of your body of doing something?
Yeah, do you know, I've got no miracle answers for that. You would like to think it's training, yeah. But I think it's maybe a lot to do with leadership. I think often you act out the role you're in. So if you're a leader of a team, you're probably more likely to lead that team, hopefully out of danger and more into a safe environment. Maybe you could be a complete lunatic, in which case you might take them into the firing zone. But often it comes down to your perception of yourself, and that has a lot to do with how you act in the situation. And I've really enjoyed training the last few years. Most of my time spent in the field, journalist, but I've really enjoyed training the last few years. And I see the team dynamic and I see leaders, and I've no idea who this room's leader. I've got no idea. It goes bang, bang outside now. For all you know, I'm going to cower under the desk and start crying. I don't know. You know, my PTSD, it's a real issue, isn't it? Across the board, actually. But I certainly might not be the leader, even though you might think I would be because of military background or whatever. One of you guys might just stand up and say, look, we've got to make a decision now. We've got to go. I see that quite a lot. I see that for real, and I see it in training too, where the training hopefully is immersive enough it feels pretty real. So you sort of never know who's going to stand up and be the leader in the situation. Yeah, it's really tough. I don't really answer that. You need a psychologist for that one. Yeah. But I think you could probably train it. I think what you can do, sorry, just to address your training point, would be, I think if you're ready, I think if you're mentally prepared, I think if you put this into a civilian equation, like, you're diving, you're going diving. Now, I'm going down 30 metres, I'm pretty comfortable at 30 metres. Oh, today, you know, my friend wants to go down to 40. Why? All the light, all the fish, beautiful, 30 metres. Why 40? We lose the light almost at 40. I don't like diving when it's dark. I don't like diving when you lose the light. I was a shark down there. Don't know what's down there, you know. So you're starting to dive down. Now you can just be consumed now by this pervasive thought of, shit, I don't like the dark, I don't like this, I'm just going to do the dive, get out of it. And that's it, we go, right? So I've got my breathing rate going now. Psychological symptoms, I suppose. So that would be an issue. It would be an issue because my friend, I just try to catch him up because he's going below 40 now, starting to panic. I don't want to surface on my own, because last time I did that, I shut up, because I'm quite inexperienced. So I want to surface with my buddy. Please come in. And please come in. And I really want to surface with this guy, so I want to dive to keep. So I try and grab him, right? Boom! Accidentally, his fin just knocked my glasses off. Right? Oh shit! This is the worst thing. I hated taking my goggles off, my mask off when I practiced diving. It's the worst thing ever. Now I'm at 40 metres. It's feeling dark. My body doesn't even know it's kicked my goggles off. I can't see it because I'm underwater. How is your body reacting now? I'm getting stressed and I've just made it up. But I am a diver, so I do appreciate the stresses. I'm sure some of you are too. I appreciate the stresses there on the body. The psychological stresses are huge. I'm likely to panic. So I'm just going across the board now. Most people, you're likely to panic because you've put yourself in that situation already where fear, this isn't a fear motivational talk, guys, we seem to have got down that route a little bit, but where fear is all pervasive. And now, what happens? Fight or flight. It's basic fight or flight response is what happens. So now you're going to absolutely panic and you'll inflate your vest, right? Your BCD, boom, up. You're going to cough your lungs out on the surface, right? Or get a grip of it then and there. And that is the tough thing. And that, I don't know if you can teach that or not. What you can do, I believe, is to be prepared. And so as you're going down, when I'm talking now, we're already on the dive, right? So we decide, okay, we'll do it. Let's just do it. But we're going down. Think through likely things that could go wrong. And this is so relevant for the bang, people shooting at the station now, and we're heading towards that to report it, right? This is so relevant for being on the front line. It's relevant for everywhere, really. Think about through what the threats are, simple, and how we mitigate against that. You know what? I really don't want my masks to come off. It's like the worst thing in the world. Ideally, yes, I should have done more demasking jokes. In the ideal world, yes. But you know what? I don't have time for all that. So what I'm going to do is be super cautious that this guy doesn't knock my mask off. In fact, actually, when I tried to grab his attention and grab his fin, I was going to hold on to it, and I felt better doing that, you know. So I'm doing things to enable myself to feel more confident as I go forward. And that ultimately, I think, you would have a better reaction, a more appropriate reaction, and certainly a quicker reaction, but what's important there is an appropriate reaction to a threat. So I guess in that way you could maybe train yourself by thinking through likely threats. We do that all the time. Back in the military, not to pull up a sandbag, or you'd tears even more, but we always went through the threats and what's going to happen now. I'll tell you a classic one where it worked actually. Briefly, Baghdad, 2004, I'm in a commercial security team, right? My team leader's next to me, he says, okay Joel, we're going to go underground. Every day stuff's going bang, bang, explosions. What happens if the car in front gets blown up? What happens if the car behind gets blown up? What happens if we get blown up? What happens if an ambush occurs on the side of the road? We went through scenario after scenario as we sat there waiting to go out on this task. Went out on the task, the shortest road in the world, the Bayat road. It goes from the green zone to the airport in Baghdad. It takes like, at the speed we were driving, like 15 minutes. It really didn't take long. These armoured vehicles. Of course, the vehicle behind us, our friends, part of the convoy, 3 vehicles, and a vehicle coming off the side. This was before they put T-walls down. Got right next to the armoured vehicle, bang. Shit. Right, now this is where the training kicks in, because now you are I was looking, actually, I went for a jolly that day. I didn't even need to go. I just sat in the back seat now, thinking about it. I look behind me, I can see a big cloud. Oh, great. Improvised explosive devices. Huge issue. They're a big issue out in Mosul. They have been for the last 4 or 5 months because they're so deadly. Improvised explosive device, a car, gone boom, blown up the armoured vehicle behind us. We stop. Yes? I'm sorry, I apologise. I am. I apologise. I'm telling a war story, miss it, which I'm going to try and keep it as short as possible. But basically, we're talking about training and why it's so important to be prepared. So I'll keep this short, guys. But the car behind me went boom, and we kicked inappropriate drills. I forget what they are now. I think we got out. We might have put down protection, and we went back to recuperate our people, who, importantly, by the way, were all alive. As we approached the car, the armoured vehicle, I thought they were dead. Absolutely. This is an armoured car in Iraq. The side of the car is peppered, just completely peppered with lots of holes all over this car. The glass is opaque. I can't see into the car. I don't know what condition they're in. We managed to open the doors. The guys inside, all big burly guys, they're okay. Their only injuries from the explosion were basically the hair had been burnt and the eyebrows had been burnt because the explosive comes in the vents, the air vents, right? However, they weren't wearing seatbelts, can you believe it, right? Because you didn't back then, right? And when the explosion went off, the bonnet went up on the car, and the driver could not see, so he swerved, and the car hit a metal gantry, and bang, 2 guys in the front, they head-butted an armoured window, and the 2 guys behind, big burly guys, went smash into the 2 chairs, banged into the 2 guys in front, and one of them displaced his hip. Please come in, please come in. And the other one had an issue too. So it's a few morals from that story, I suppose, not least of which maybe wear the seatbelt. But what I'm trying to get at is we handled that situation really well, and that was, I really think, because we were so prepared, because we thought through every likely scenario, and it didn't go as we talked about. It did not go as planned, but it went well enough, and actually everyone survived, so it didn't go that badly. So being prepared, I think, is a mindset, and thinking through likely scenarios. You won't ask me any more questions now. That took about 20 minutes, but I hope you got something from it anyway.
I wanted to ask about the tracking.
Yeah.
That's not also a double-edged sword,
yes.
That you can be also tracked by
absolutely.
People who want to purchase.
Absolutely. It absolutely is. And you know.
So how do you protect yourself?
You know, yeah, exactly. So on the phone, I think how we protect ourselves, we'll talk about. On the phone, I think it's an issue, right? So where I am at the moment, just got back from Northern Iraq, it's not really a huge issue. The players on the ground, the people that could be tracking you, are more than likely, certainly the media I'm working with, to be your friends. You know, that's not to say that criminal organisations and terrorist organisations like Daesh, ISIS, have not got the capability and can't track you. I'm not saying they can't. But the situation on the ground at most at the moment, they're pretty much on the back foot, that sort of thing. I'm less concerned about this. Now, I go into Syria, let's say. Now, do I take my iPhone with me? And now I'm more concerned. Now, because I don't know if I trust this. Yeah, what network am I using? Am I using a local network? Who's monitoring that network? Do they know my telephone number? Have they got hold of my, sorry, I will slow down, my INSI number? You know, so it's a really good way to track people. That's been going on for a long, long time. So it's knowing what to trust. And that's where I would say, actually, where independent tracking systems come in. You know, we use, with one of the media organisations I work with at the moment, we use a tracker called the Nano. And it's not too dissimilar to this. It's a little bit bigger, and it's got a larger antenna on it. It's better. It's a really good bit of kit. And I can message on it too. Why I like my Nano is because I can message securely. Sometimes, and you guys have faced this same threat, because I've been with you, is you can't talk on the phone, right? You do not trust that. You can't. You do not trust your satellite phone, and anyway, the rebels that you're with don't trust the satellite phone. The last thing you can do is pull out your Inmarsat. Can't happen. When you have a tracker like a Nano, I'm not a sales guy for a Nano, there's many other trackers that have the same capability. What you can do is you can go to the toilet, and then you can type out a message. And it will go to a certain, whoever it is you've got to set this up. It will go to whoever editor, that sort of thing. You can type out a message and you can receive a message on it. And what I will do, let's say, is I will type out my message while I'm in the toilet, it goes in my pocket, I go outside, smoke a cigarette, have a cup of coffee, and it sends and receives. It needs to be outside to send and receive. It's satellite. Send and receive a message. Half an hour later, I go to the loo again. My God, he goes to the loo a lot. I read the message. It's a great way to have covert communications, tracking. There's different types, different forms of trackers, but that's one. And this is just commercially available. I picked it up here at Hamburg just to show you guys, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with this type of tracker. It's okay. It tracks GSM as well as GPS. Yeah. Sorry, this is the latest. Let's go.
Just on tracking, famous tracking to media center in Homs.
Yeah. Okay.
The sharing came because of they need to put something to have receipt to send the news and deliver the news to internet.
Yeah,
and the government attacked them because of this. So it wasn't even so mobile or the computer.
It was just the internet, the usage, what the content that they sent. Yeah.
Itself. And I have one question, if you allow me, even for later after I finish tracking. We have a problem. We don't do training as a center, but with most of the training that I even participate some related to safety, the main problem is they try to speak to people or journalists or as a trainer or whatever in a room like this.
Yeah.
That's so much not reality.
Yeah.
I have been in Syria and in conflict zones sometimes. So when shelling starts, your first thing happens. Suddenly your brain will just shut down. You need a minute and a minute and a half at least until you get control on your body again and the ability to think, to draw a map in your mind. Where I am, where's my position, where's the fire is coming from. where to go.
Absolutely.
And how we can fix this problem between the training place, which is completely different environment, and the reality with no electricity, the sharing sounds, everything.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And actually, we sort of kept it reasonably strategic rather than talk too much about tactics. But what a good point that you say. You've got a minute there just to get yourself together. Now, there is an argument, which I think is a good one, that the quicker you can react to a situation, the more likely it is you'll get the right outcome, good outcome for that situation. However, that reaction can mean just staying still. Certainly, if there's bombs going off outside, the last thing I would do is like climbing to a window and crawling through it. I want to get into some cover and stay still and get down, that sort of thing. So tactically that way, that pause, that's what you're saying, yeah, I can see how that can be very good for you. When you talk about realistic training, I mean 1 hour talking to me and vice versa in this scenario, we can only talk really, we can only slightly brush across things. I actually taught, I've been to Syria, and I taught you guys, well, a lot of journalists out in Syria, in Joel Whittaker. We tried to make it as realistic as possible, but we're still in a hotel. There's only so much you can do. They wouldn't let us set bombs off in Jordan as a training, which is a serious business I know in Syria. But you're limited with training. There's only so much you can do. What you can do is go to decent, reputable training organisations like INSI, of course I'm going to plug INSI, and recommended by ACOS, and hopefully the people that they use to train, proper training, not an hour discussion, proper training, it's immersive. It's really immersive. I quite enjoy training. Most of my time spent on the ground with media, but I really enjoy training, and I will make it really, really immersive, as with all the people I work with. And that you can actually make training quite immersive, so that you actually feel that you're there to a degree. So training can be really useful if it's done, like everything, it's done well. And I think that's done in conjunction with listening to you guys. If you say, well, look, that didn't really work for us. Actually, the threat is digital. It's not really, no one's shooting guns anymore. It's all digital surveillance. They're putting you in jail and locking up our journalists. Then the training's going to mend it. It's interesting you said about the training many years ago and how it's changed. I think it has changed a bit, hopefully. Many of the same threats are still there from 10, 20 years ago, but there are certainly some newer dimensions now.
When it comes to the trackers versus phone, I absolutely follow you. Phone is much problematic to use, but the trackers, would you recommend them also in sensitive scenarios where the big players are involved, like Russia, US, China?
Yeah.
First GPS.
China, Russia, I mean, they're obviously two areas where surveillance is just all over it. think you need to expect that you are, like, you just got to expect surveillance. Like, I guess it comes back maybe to what information you're worried about. You know, the guy on the street corner in China is watching you and will be reporting on your movement. As you walk around, that sort of surveillance doesn't matter how super good you are at kicking surveillance and getting in the way. Like, really, really tough to beat. So you've got to sort of accept that and work within those parameters. So I don't have any magical answers for that. I really don't. I just think it depends on where you're operating and what you're trying to communicate as well, or what you need to communicate. You know, these phones, like, we were giving away our INI number and our telephone number to our phones a long time ago when these phones were popular, and we could be tracked. It's no problem at all. Really easy.
We did the same.
Easy
with
technology.
A company from Switzerland.
Okay, well, they do a
It was
lot.
relatively secure.
Right. But that's a double-edged sword. I mean, you know, it's actually what you mentioned earlier on about being tracked. How much do you trust the people who are tracking you? So, and I brought this as an example, really. You know, it's fine. Right? It's fine. It's a commercially available piece of equipment, so peer review, things like that. But, you know, who's behind the technology? But who's behind the technology? The actual tracking platform. The tracker that I use, we call it the Nano, with a large media organisation, we know who designed the tracking platform, right? And there's a really good level of security to that. I'm not saying it's infallible, sorry. I don't think that's possible anymore. But certainly there's a good level. It would have to be a major player, right, to be able to break into that. But then when you start, and this is where freelancers really need more help as well. Freelancers can't afford the Nano. They can't afford to pay like the response company, because the Nano, the actual device, is nothing. You give that away. It's the response. It's the people who are monitoring you, and the response that kicks in. So that's all part of the package. Freelancer can't afford that. No chance. So the freelancer will get that, and they'll let their mother or their husband or their wife track them. That's the way it rolls. But then who else is tracking them? So there's big issues around tracking. I certainly don't recommend this tracker to anybody, but keep it simple. You know. If you can work without causing compromise, then use it. I would use this in certain situations.
When I was going to Syria,
Yeah.
I would advise everyone to leave it very simple, as you said, and the old Nokia.
Yeah.
3310, if you remember, it's
Well,
the old Nokia. This one. And not this one, this is very technological.
That's posh.
Yeah, exactly. It's the old copy. It doesn't take a photo, but it has two fantastic something. It has a light, and because they have a great battery, so you put the light.
Go on.
The lights help me a lot once. And it's, as I've heard, you are the expert, sir, these ones are not able to be tracked. So you can send messages and you will be not tracked by those. So you don't even need to go buy another new tool, just to try to find something very old from old grandfather family generation.
But I guess you can keep the information anyway that you send them there. You can keep it vague. You don't need to give away anything. That you can keep the information really vague. I'm a big one for code words. You know, if I'm with you and you're not happy with the situation, whatever that reason is, or if my fix is just told me shit about the kid that was, right, I'm not happy with the situation. The last thing I want to do is raise awareness around it. Right? I don't want, we were talking about stress there as well. I don't want everybody's stress levels like that. I need my driver's cool. Right? So we have a code word, perhaps. What it is. I had a call from my brother who's not very well. What brother? Shit, that's the code word. So little things like that can help us try to be subtle rather than give the game away. So code words can certainly be used in communication. Why not? It's got to make sense. It's pre-planned. So,
yeah. In cases of social convulsion like in Venezuela, what kind of tools you recommend to journalists? How kind of training?
I think we're going to talk about that shortly. That presentation, there's actually doesn't take too long. We'll go into that very shortly tonight. So we will talk about tools for social media and things like that. Just finally, with sat phones, I brought it, so I might show you. This thing's also got a tracker on it. But actually, it's an instant tracker on this one. I'm not sure this model's got it, but I know that in our sat do it. It's called an SOS button. And you've got them on many trackers. Actually, you've actually got them on this one too. It's just a response. So when I press the help button on here, when I press whatever the code is on here, when I press my help button on here, who's monitoring me and have they got a clue? Is it someone on the desk, if I'm lucky, who took a good handover of notes, know the situation that I'm in, and there is a plan in place to assist us? Is it that? Like, a lot of the time, no. A lot of the time it will fall on deaf ears. The person who's meant to be monitoring you is drunk in his car. So you've got to be really careful. The communications, yeah, you've got the hardware, you've invested in the hardware, you've got to invest in the back end as well, in that response capability. They understand it. And to bring it down to a basic level, and again, this certainly for freelancers, have somebody all the time when you're in a hostile situation, and the hostile situation could be Hamburg on Friday night, right? Who will pick up the phone and will instantly understand it if you're not comfortable. They will instantly get it. Are you going to be there to meet me? Yeah, I should be there in about 5 minutes. And I need that person on the other end of the phone to say, as quickly as you can, yes, I'll be there, no problem. They're not going to be there, right? They're wherever they're in Tunisia. Doesn't matter. I've got a positive, and I want them to say that as well. I don't just want to pick up the phone and pretend to talk to somebody. It doesn't really work. People pick up on that. They can hear. Well, the taxi certainly. So I need a response on your phone. That's super important, guys. So I think we've probably done it to death unless anybody's got any more questions. Well, then we'll talk about digital, of course. We've managed to cover a little bit of digital already. So I'm just going to come out of this presentation quickly and then go brrr. Right, you guys probably going to tell me about as much about digital security as I'm going to tell you, maybe. It's ever evolving, isn't it? The first slide I showed actually, guys, was evolving threats, and it showed a truck that mowed down people. And so, obviously, so true with security. Now, as the media, of course, Mac. Love Mac. Of course we love Mac. Are Mac any more secure, do we think, than PC and Windows, let's say? What do we think? No or not?
Well, I think maybe in the past they were, but now it seems like this is so widely used, and there was this idea that they were more secure, so people didn't put in place the tools that maybe they would on Windows.
Yeah, good point.
And now it's so ubiquitous, people realize that. So
Yeah.
they target it. And I think also some of the tools that maybe available on Windows sometimes aren't so available on Mac. So I
Yeah.
think like the password managers and this sort of VPN sometimes.
VPN, yeah.
VPN tools on Mac.
Yeah. So you don't think there might not be the tools there that PC have got available to help protect your Mac, to help protect the communications?
Yeah, I think it's fine.
Yeah. I think you've got a good point. Yeah, potentially. Anyone else want to add to that, guys?
I would say in Syria, it's funny if they found a VPN program in your laptop, oppositions, Kurdish or
Interesting.
government.
Yeah.
Then you have a problem
Yeah.
because for them this is for security. And then what do you do? And need security.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't do anything, like it's just a virus, you have VPN or whatever.
Yeah.
You are already in a problem because of the reputation of the program.
Yeah.
Or siphon or something like that.
Yeah. So therefore, security is actually highlighting you and is a threat to you now. So you using VPN, using whatever, encrypted drives, that sort of thing, it's a threat. Interesting. And just a thought, actually, just to backtrack on tracking. Obviously, tracking doesn't have to be quite so overt. There are trackers out there that are quite covert, can be placed in a whole host of things. So I've got to mention that quite important. It doesn't have to be overt tracking. Just you mentioned about computers and hard drives. So the threat. I mean, I've got sort of more faith, I think. Right? I'm not a cyber expert. I work with a cyber firm, but I'm not a cyber expert. But I've got a bit more faith in the Mac. Probably biased anyway, I suppose, but a bit more faith in the Mac, I think, than I have in PC. It is, though, becoming more common because it is. Security guys have got Macs now. It's not just the media. So therefore, it's more of a target, I guess, for hackers, isn't it, than it was. But there is a good level of encryption on Mac. Yep.
No, also because one of the things that I find it's a challenge in the digital security realm. Basically, it's how difficult and how easy friendly it's for the user to be actually able to implement use digital security.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think that probably I'm not a tech expert at all, and so I really don't know whether PC must be, is more secure than Mac and so on. But the thing is that Mac makes security more user-friendly for, being more comfortable using it, like the built-in options to encrypt all your hard drive and so on.
Yeah.
It's very easy to access, very easy to do this.
Yeah, that's such a good point, and that's a great sales pitch. User friendly, make it easy for them, and then use it. Absolutely, yeah. I guess that's the major. So therefore, because of the ease of use, perhaps potentially Macs are more secure. Yeah, I agree. We'll talk more about security, specific security for machines now, actually, for PCs and for Macs too. Encryption. Sorry, I didn't get your name. What's your name? Amiara. Amiara, there's one here.
No, continue please. I would do it like
They're all locked together. There's yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Amiara got a good point about.
No, Yara, it's just.
Yara. Okay, Yara. Yara had a good point about sort of highlighting yourself and your security by having a VPN. Well, it's the same with much security that we've got on the laptop. So encrypted drive. Anyway, everybody now, I'm sure, has the means to encrypt their drive. When I turn off, again, user friendliness, when I turn off, so not put it to sleep, when I turn off my laptop, my Mac, it encrypts the drive, right? Because there's a program that allows me to do it. Now, with Macs, obviously, there's one that's inbuilt. You can buy them. You can buy encrypted drives, no problem. Means to encrypt drives, no problem. Of course, the issue is for you potentially, what are you highlighting there? What are you highlighting? And I think back to, I read a book by someone who's kept hostage by ISIS. Dan, I'm trying to think of his name, Dan the ISIS hostage, what reason, Dan, Norway guy, I think. And he talks about how two of the guards walked into Dan Sotloff's cell, the guy was executed, of course, and said, give me the passwords to your laptop. Well, you're going to give them the passwords. It's as simple as that. Why wouldn't you? If you don't, they're going to chop your freaking legs off. And that's the thing as well. How visible is it? So encryption is needed to secure information. Certainly, I would say from theft, reputational damage as an organisation, as an individual, from theft, from criminals. So recently, the huge PC issue with blackmail. I think of the name of the virus, whatever it is. That virus that recently was hit globally. So that's just theft, isn't it? It's just basically theft of information. It's hostage, really. It's a new form of kidnapping and ransom. But encryption has its value, but also it has an issue with it too. Why are you encrypting information? In lots of parts of the world, so like in Iraq, I've got a problem having an encrypted drive. I might have in Syria, if I was caught out by the regime, that sort of thing. And ultimately, they're going to find it. Unless you are working for some super secret organisation or you are super, super clever, they're going to find that encrypted drive. You think you've hidden it because it's told you it's hidden. Like, there's some clever people working for terrorist organisations and working for criminal organisations, they'll find it. And then they'll just say, give me the drive, I'm going to cut her legs off. Open it up, give me the password. There's no real defence there, unfortunately. So you've got to think about that. Why are you encrypting it in the first place? What information are you encrypting? Can I afford to give that away? So encryption is a double-edged sword. It's like everything we spoke about today, I'm sure. Anonymity, yeah, absolutely. It's the low-profile approach. You spoke about it in basic security earlier on. A nice low-profile approach to security is maybe preferable to a high-profile approach. So too with your information, keeping it simple. Names, contacts, all that key information that, wow, if the government get hold of this, they're knackered, right? And they trusted me with their story. And if they get hold of this, they're shagged. And I'm shagged, actually. And so is the reputation of my newspaper is shagged. Right? It's good. So can I make this information anonymous, And we've got to look into that quite cleverly. We don't need to talk about it too much now, but think through that further. Keep it simple, absolutely. You just mentioned it there, reference, ease of use. It's perfect sales. You want to sell a good app online, just make it easy to use. So make it easy, make it simple. And that's true for you, and it's true for your organisation. And we need to make that the case for freelancers too. Absolutely freelancers, because they don't have a lot of money, they don't have a lot of time, they don't have a lot of patience. So we've got to keep it simple for those guys. And we'll talk more about that. On a longer course, of course, we'll talk more in depth into this, but it's really a touch on guys. And using open source technology, why? Why do you want to use open source? Why would I want to use, why would I want to use a means to encrypt my drive that is open source technology? Why?
Because you know who's behind it.
Okay, you know who the developers are, you know who built the thing, absolutely, yeah. So maybe there's a level of trust that you could research that, couldn't you? Certainly as journalists you would. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Also, because it's commercially available, it's an open resource, it's more likely to be tested by everyone, by the 14-year-old who's a complete whiz in the basement. It's like, no, there's a vulnerability, there's ding, 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 ding. Test it, and that's highlighted globally to everyone who's got an interest. So therefore, they're more likely to develop fixes or to make it a more improved product. And that's why you might want to use open source technology. Many of reasons, of course, that's one of them. Types of threat, guys. I'm sure you've seen and heard many of these already. Hacking. Hacking is classic. You know, one of the threats I put right at the start of this presentation was just showed my VPN. It's not a bad VPN as far as I'm aware. What I need is not to have my information compromised at all. I need a means to securely communicate my information. And I find that a VPN helps me achieve that, certainly. But also it's going to help protect from hacking. Because actually, I'm probably less concerned about people hacking into my laptop. You know, the Wi-Fi is off right now, the Bluetooth's off right now. And anyway, it's encrypted. And it's password protected, you know. But what happens when the information leaves where I'm sending it from? Well, actually, we could use the hotel server. It's fantastic. That's great. They've got like strength 5. It's booming. Fantastic. I don't get it. I don't see why it's so good. You know, so often there's a reason for that. Particularly around journalist conferences, you know, that sort of thing. In certain countries. So there's a reason why there's a really good internet. So you've got to think about, hopefully it's just because they want to, just come back next year, I'm sure. So you've got to think about the hacking and how that hacking can go on down the line. You know, how protected is a server at the hotel, at the cafe, at the railway station, that sort of thing. Think through. And surveillance too, digital surveillance. Certainly, you know, surveillance has changed a lot over the years. It's I guess now for people it's a lot easier. Let's go back to keeping it really simple. I work with TV a lot, and most of the time, when we've been out on the ground, even before we get back, there's a picture, right? And I'm freaking tagged in it, and they're tagged in it, and the camera guy's tagged in it, and the location's tagged, and bang, 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 bang. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I get business. I understand media. I understand pushing out what's going on, that sort of thing, I get it. But you've got to look around at the information that you're giving away. You really do. And not just in that one picture where you tagged, you know, the refugees walking up. It's a frickin' awful sight. And you've tagged some key geographical information in there, and key names in there. It's not just that one post. Surveillance goes bang, 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 bang. All the posts, from all your friends, all your peer group. And it's all done on algorithms, like. It's not just one guy or girl sat there writing it down. It's done digitally, of course. And they're really good. And they'll get a whole host of information from that sort of, what I would say would seemingly be innocuous posts. A lot of information can be gained. So I'm quite cautious about social media. I think most people, I would like to say most people are up to speed with it. But honestly, not really, not really. It's like, even if you waited at least until we got back from the task, just that one day, let us get back from the danger area and then bang out the post with the names if you want to tag people. At least wait until we get back. And certainly, of course, we're not giving away intentions. We are off to, you know, whatever location. You know, probably going to get there about lunchtime, can't wait. You know, so, but yeah, I mean, the threat for you guys is real, isn't it? You know, whether surveillance. I'm not really talking about kidnapping ransom. Actually, I know it's been highlighted a lot, and it's been awful for media the last few years, and for local media more so than the expat rotating through media. Of course it has. But the likelihood of you guys getting kidnapped is really, really small, pretty much. But the likelihood of you guys getting targeted in an airstrike, in a drone strike, in reputational damage, in getting locked up, in being locked up for the day, being detained, and then they pull up a whole host of information about you. Because you said that about the PKK, right? There's a whole host of information that you just don't even think about. Oh my goodness, of course, yeah. So you've got to think about surveillance long term. A lot of information they're going to get from you, and they're going to build up a picture, particularly if you're in and out of that country a lot. You know, they're like, who is this guy? Who is this girl? They will look at you and they will start to glean a lot of information. Facebook, Twitter, I don't know, other apps. I'll host, I'm sure, Instagram. So they build up a picture of you guys. That's how surveillance works. So social media, we spoke about that. Your contact as well. So, and again, we sort of spoke about this briefly earlier on, putting people into danger. When you think about it a little bit more, it's not only you and social media that's putting yourself and your team and your newspaper, your organisation in danger potentially. It's the fixers, the stringers, the drivers, the locals who helped you in the background. I know most people are aware of that, but just give it some more thought, particularly social media. Geo-tracking, what is that? What is geo-tracking? I promise I'll let you go in a couple of minutes when we drink coffee and things. Geo-tracking. So geo-tracking it can be as simple as, actually, there is a program now, and I've forgotten the percentages, unfortunately. There's a program now where if I put a picture up on Instagram, and I don't want people to know where it is, but it's such a nice picture, I really want to post it, and I'm there like, right, but there's no visual clues, there's no sign. So there's no Hamburg, right, the background sign, in 2 kilometres. There is a program now, there was something like, it's an insane, like 70 or 80% accuracy of being able to find out where you are, from the background, from the contours. I wouldn't have thought the cloud shapes, I'm sure they move too much. But from the topography, the real topography, so there must have to be, I guess, a couple of features in there, like a hill feature, maybe a river, immovable objects, a very slow to move object. But there's a program out there now with a really high percentage of getting your location. So geo-tracking, is about basically tracking you geographically. And we spoke about how much we trust trackers. Well, again, it's a double-edged sword. You know, these guys certainly, I don't know who's behind the platform, who built this, who the engineers are. So maybe they've got a little flag thing. So when a certain name or a certain organisation, a certain email, a certain geographical location, I don't know, gets put into this, okay, I'm logging in now, great, I can see myself, fantastic, I can see you, right? It's red flagged. So whoever it is who's looking in, whether that's government surveillance, good government, bad government, who knows? So it's red flagged. So that's geo-tracking as well. And information behind pictures, I'm sure you're aware of as well. You know, there's obviously like a blueprint. Is that a blueprint? Is that the right word? It's information behind a picture that can give away its location if you don't turn that off on your DSLR camera. There's information that's given away there. Is anybody aware of that one? It's not something I'm an expert on, guys, but I'm aware there's information in digital pictures that will give away your location and the time that place was shot to. You've got to disable that on DSLR cameras. Don't know if that's the same on iPhones and Samsungs and things like that. Maybe. And basic, so theft of equipment. You know, theft of equipment and confiscated equipment. Back to the story in Turkey, where the correspondent had the phone taken off them, and trying to download the information that's on there. Get everything off the phone. And if it's deleted as well, of course, we know that the information can still be got at. Certainly can. So it's confiscated equipment. I guess theft of equipment is a similar sort of thing. Getting hacked, getting cracked, and taking key information. Essentially blackmailing you.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
In the sense of what that you were mentioning about geo-tracking, it's not only, I mean, you can be tracked, or it's a double-edged measure, also because you can be tracked by using these sort of devices, but also you can be tracked by because your mobile phone has certain apps that it looks into.
Yeah.
That they are.
Good point. Fantastic point.
But
Yeah.
for example, I don't know, we're joking about like Booking.com or TripAdvisor, you know,
Yeah.
all these small things that prompt, you know, whenever you access for the first time and prompt, you know, like
Yeah.
a message saying, do you give permission to have access to your program?
Yeah.
And then you say yes, you know, to get out because you want to do from iPhone, from Mac, because, you know.
That's a really good point.
But I think it's important for everyone to realize that.
Absolutely, yeah. Actually, you should go more into depth on that. I remember going to Russia a couple of years ago, and I was with a friend, and we went through our phones. Like, wow, what information we give away. iPhone have my most visited location, and so it came up on a map. And wow, so there's tracks to my home, tracks to my home, tracks to my home. I say tracks to the pub, tracks to wherever. Probably the pub home. But, I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. Like, the information that's on there is just unreal. So what a good point. Yeah, absolutely.
So, like,
Yeah.
actually have access to that, so it will not give me to, or like to put a tracking device on your, or like a stick.
It's there.
It's there.
Just a commercially available app. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, really good point. Really good point.
Sorry.
No, good point. Yeah. So really, just to finish off, guys, we've sort of talked about mitigation, I think, as we've gone through this a little bit. Focus on behaviours is key, and that's why I put it up there. I work with a firm. I won't mention the name, because I don't want to be a commercial sort of guy, but actually, it's just memory sticks. So it's a multinational firms, big firms, right? This guy gets paid a lot of money, his company does, to called ethical hacking, penetration test, right? To get into their systems, to really try and sort of get whatever information they can. Sometimes they're given targeted information to get, sometimes not. And like, these companies are great. They've got reasonably good security out the door. You can't get in without an appointment. You've got to sort of work hard to get in through the front door of these offices. And then the firewalls around the computers, and they've got separate computers from the internet, all that sort of stuff. Almost using time. They're great. And then, wow, it's like it's a buy one of these, but it's a golf ball. I know it's a memory stick. How cool is that? I freaking love golf. So I'm going to plug this into it's human error. It's human error. It will smash you every time with digital surveillance, with digital issues digitally. It really will, and it's human error. The systems we use now are pretty good. It is somebody being too lazy to turn their laptop off. They just put it to sleep, and I do it a lot. Right, hands up, right? Because it's easy with a Mac. Oh, it's good to turn itself off. It's not encrypted, right? You think about when you're handing your laptop over from Turkey back to the UK or wherever. God damn it. That was a bad idea. Somebody shut up. So it's sort of making security easy. It goes back to what you said earlier on, which is make it easy for people. And I think certainly, from my point of view, working with you guys on the ground, we'll talk about how we can keep you secure digitally, but we just try and keep it as simple as possible. Because otherwise you won't do it. Human beings, myself included, we're just naturally lazy. Or actually, a better way of putting it is we're quite intelligent, so we'll look for the easiest route because it will save time and energy. And so we need to, when we focus on behaviours, I don't need to give you long lists of do's and certainly don'ts, because you're just going, oh, cheers, no time for that. Got to keep it nice and simple. But some basics are, like human error is classic. So, like a memory stick, how are people still picking up memory sticks this day and age, putting it into machines? That could bring down a company, expensive companies, and trust me, they're still doing it. So there's human error. Because we're fallible, aren't we? Tactics or services, we spoke about that. That offer basically more secure means to communicate. And we spoke about how that's a double-edged sword as well. I mean, somewhere like Syria, that can highlight you as maybe an anti-regime sort of person. So there's an issue with it. But I think for identity, low profile, I don't need super secure apps all over my laptop, all over my phone. I don't need Signal and a whole host of other things necessarily on here, because people, if I get pulled over by the Turkish police or whoever, they're like, who are you? Why have you got all these? It just makes, they're going to ask more questions. And it's innocuous, I'm a journalist or whatever. It's just, I'm trying to protect my sources, but they might look deeper. Who knows what they're going to find? They're going to put other people in danger. So there's absolutely a need for encryption and things like that, but let's try to think about intelligently when we want to use it. Keep it simple. Like, can I just use a code word? Like, can we just agree to talk in a way that we're not giving everything away, but we've gone back to, as you mentioned, just gone back to using an old phone again. Because when I use VPN on my iPhone, it sends a certain signal that's given out. So everything is different. Every digital signal is different, right? And people in the know when you're talking on a satellite phone. They know when you're talking on an iPhone or a Samsung, and they'll know when you're talking on an old phone too. And if old phones do good, if everybody has an old phone like that, well, no problem. If this one phone, one signal out of all the other signals pings, they're like, what the heck? Who is that? What's that? Raising attention to yourself. So we're going back to that low-profile approach. Yeah.
Just to emphasize about the behavior,
Yeah.
because we learn from experience. There's some countries that don't have a conflict, but it's not the safe zones. For example, Lebanon, which I go for a lot.
Yeah.
And it's funny, but like it's seriously true. I would advise everyone, don't leave your computers in hotel, guys, when you go to have fun. It's not safe.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm talking. Keep your mobiles and laptops, no matter how heavy they are. So much country are not conflict, but not safe zone too. So keep your computers with you. Even so, it's locked. It's just double more safe because you can hang out outside for 7 hours.
Yeah.
And for any high technical man, IT can open the computer no matter what, zero password.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that even if I was just thinking to a right situation where I'd be worried about a water cannon smashing my Mac, you're right, I wouldn't want to leave my laptop in the room necessarily in a hotel, but if there was a stringer staying back or a camera guy or an engineer, or I don't know, somebody staying back who keep their eyes on it for me as well might be an option. But you're right, I wouldn't want to leave it just unsecured. I think back to, has anybody been to Gaza? Go through from Gaza back into Israel, and all the laptops come through on the conveyor. It's like Escape from New York when you come back through the search. It goes on, and all the laptops come through. Obviously, you can turn them off and encrypt it, as well as. And they come through, opened up, and pages have been opened on the laptops. It doesn't matter, So you've got to think through it. It's a good point. So yeah.
Yeah, our partner in Zimbabwe, their editorial office was raided last year by the police, and they came in and they confiscated all the laptops. They were looking for a source.
Yeah.
So now we're talking about putting everything in the cloud, or
okay.
I don't know what
Yeah.
the solution is.
That's a good way. I've heard that.
We had like 2 minutes. They could see it coming, so they were trying to shut stuff down, but they still managed.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to do it. I think that's potentially a good way to do it. Cloud, yeah.
They can be hacked.
They could be hacked, you're right. They could be hacked. But then do we go, it's tough from an organisational point of view because you need a serious bit of data there. Security, yeah, but you need data. Excuse me. Data storage. So whoever you use, needs to be a serious player, don't they? So what I'm trying to get at is that's not that innocuous. So there are ways to, like emails, there are ways to sort of store emails and things like that. So you're not totally highlighting, that's a Trey's got put out there, didn't he? I think he's having an affair. I think they, rather than send each other emails, him and his lady, I think they should write the email, put it in the saved box, and then the other one would go into the account because they have that's the way to do it, in a way.
You should do a draft email.
Yeah, draft email, yeah. In a way, that's one way to do it, I suppose. We get called out, so it's probably not a correct example. But yeah, I think the cloud, I hear that more and more, but my concern is the same as yours. How secure is that cloud? I don't know the answer to that. But I think the cloud would be a good way to do it, potentially, because then you're not travelling around that equipment. Even if you had that information on your laptop to start with, and then, okay, we're about to head off on task, out of country, whatever it is, can I then securely upload that information to the cloud, because I trust the cloud? Or do I omit certain information? Yeah.
Or maybe on the encrypted USB stick.
Yeah.
It's also easy to transfer.
Yeah.
If you went out, and it's always with you.
Yeah. No, that's a good way to do it, I think. Yeah, I think you're right. Encrypted USB stick. Yeah, they're quite common, aren't they? I wonder if we could get one. Again, a double-edged sword. Could you get a USB stick that does not look like a data storage that doesn't seem like data storage, but and if you're caught with that again, it's like just more questions. But how thorough are people really when they search? So data, encrypt data at risk, two-step verification. Yeah, okay, it's quite common. So we get that with on the email now, two-step verification. It's a matter of not just having a password, it's essentially a text, a number or whatever. There's another step to getting into your email account, whatever. So that's a basic one, but a good one. And encrypting data at risk. We spoke about that already. Yeah. I just thought, I like the thought of uploading stuff to the cloud, particularly before I go somewhere where, I'm probably going to get pulled over. Maybe just look through the information before I upload it to the cloud. I really need to put like that contact's name on there, you know, whatever. I don't want to burn this guy. So think about what you're uploading maybe. So you've uploaded stuff that is important and it is sensitive, but you know, if it gets compromised, someone doesn't die. Get into jail for 15 years. Guys, that's it really. I mean, has anybody got any questions on what we covered? Excellent. I'm glad. Actually, more people turned up. We started off with like 2 people, and I was quite disappointed. So listen, guys. I work for INSI.
Specialize. Make it like this.
Yeah.
But also highly specialized.
I work for INSI. So you can get in touch with me through Hannah at INSI, absolutely. And also freelance as well. So I'm going to give you my business cards. So if you want any advice or anything like that, just give me a shout. Like I said, I'm literally married to the media. So I work with the media all the time. I'm dead happy to help out where I can. And I think most importantly is empowering journalists. I think my biggest thing actually is empowering journalists. So it's not going to do me out of a job, but actually I don't want to be on the ground with you guys anymore. I really don't. I want you guys just to look after yourself. You don't need added people, more expense anyway. Most people can't afford it. And there's a whole host of reasons why a lot of the time you guys are just empowered to look after yourselves and your teams and your organisations. Obviously the outcomes are so much better than just offsetting that somebody did it for you and then never knowing what you're getting every time. So I see the benefit in training, and I certainly see the benefit in organisations like INSI. And let's see what ACOS are like. I like the look of it, they look quite good, so I'll certainly look into more and more. But if you've got any questions, guys, in the future as well, just give us a shout, no worries. Cool.